Likkutei Torah, the Rosh for Rosh Hashana, page 112, four lines on the top of the page. Okay, now the Rabbi is explaining there's Likkutei Law, there's Likkutei Torah, there's a level of Malchus, even though Malchus itself by definition means removal, exalting, but nevertheless, it's the level of bittul. Why is it bittul? Because the people accepted the king willingly. It's a willing acceptance of the king. So he says now like this, 112, four lines on the top of the page. Through the awakening from below, meaning a person accepts and subjugates themselves to the king, this awakens a will from above, the attribute of kingdom. Then Hashem should want okay? So just like in the physical kingdom, when you accept the king upon yourself, that stimulates, in other words, the coronation of the king, would by definition mean people are accepting the king, that causes the king to want to be a king over them. The same thing in the spiritual world. When the Jews awaken this a bittul to the level of Malchus, they want Hashem to be their king, that stimulates that Hashem should want to be the king from above. That's the level what's known as creating the Keser Malchus. In other words, or like Chassidus calls it, the expression Binyan HaMalchus, the building of the Hashem wanting to be a king. Okay, skip 8 lines or so. The explanation of it is as follows. We see by a person in all the attributes, the emotional attributes of a person, the way they manifest themselves and reveal themselves is primarily through the will and pleasure of doing it. For instance, if somebody likes something, okay, why do they like something? Either because they want it, or there's an enjoyment of the thing they want. In other words, there's the life of the emotion is the will and the enjoyment of the emotion. If not, they wouldn't want it. Even though Hashem, the nature of good is to do good, if Hashem wouldn't want to do this kindness, because for whatever hidden reason Hashem has to be, we'll explain in a second, then Hashem wouldn't reveal himself. In other words, like this. If Hashem wouldn't want to be king, or if Hashem wouldn't want to do chesed, even though Hashem is the etzem hatev, the essence of good, and teva hatev lahetiv, the nature of good is to do good, but if Hashem wouldn't want to be that level, it wouldn't happen. He has to want. What causes Hashem to want? The fact that we subjugate ourselves to Him. And again, why is it like that? Because Hashem set it up in that particular way. In other words, what awakens the will of Hashem to want to be our king, to accept being king, that's the fact that the Jews subjugate themselves and accept Hashem as king. Okay, but by the way, it's a one-liner, but it's a very interesting point. But the acceptance of the king is on the king's condition, not on the people's condition. You can't say I accept the king for the things I want him to tell us to do. In other words, then it doesn't work. In other words, acceptance of kingdom is on the king's term, not on the subject's terms. And he says, in the dressing of Elokus, where Elokus permeates the 10 spheres of Malchus, therefore we say by each one of the brachas, Malchias, Zechrenis, and Sheferis. So the Gemara says, it's minimum of 10 brachas for each bracha. 10 psukim, 10 psukim of Malchus, Zechrenis, and Shofars. Tanach Terais Mechochma Nafka. Why Nafka from psukim? Because Torah is a level of Chochma. No, it's Chilasim B'Seifan. The end, beginning is wedged in the end. So in other words, what's wedged into Malchus? The level of Chochma. The level of Chochma is wedged in Malchus. In order to reveal and awaken Hashem's will and desire and enjoyment to be our King, it's necessary to awaken from the source of all pleasures, the whole will of all wills, of Atika steam and the whole steamen. A hidden of all hiddens. In other words, in simple English, like this. In simple English, it's like this. If you want to awaken the desire, the tainug, the pleasure of Hashem, now in order to awaken tainug, you have to tap into a level which is above tainug, to awaken something new. Now you can't awaken something new from something lower. So in order to awaken, Hashem should want to be a tainug. It's necessary for the Jew to tap into a level of Elokus which is higher than tainug. And then by stimulating that level of godliness, then the Eibishter can reveal that level of tainug by him, by the Jews to want to be king. He says, Hainu shekach all lebirtzeinu elyon, that this is what entered Hashem's will. B'marka tolaynu gum anelom, of all the hidden sources of the pleasure. That what should Hashem's enjoyment be to be a king? So what's necessary, and this is what the Shofar accomplishes. That's what the psukim of Musaf and Rosh Hashana accomplish. That Hashem should want and enjoy it to be ano emlech, that I'm being a king. In other words, this awakening of Malchus, which comes through Shofar and the psukim of Musaf, Malchus, Zechenis, and Shofars, is all basically tapping into a source of Elokus, which is higher than Melech, Malchus, higher than Einig, and that stimulates another reawakening, a will of Hashem, enjoyment of Hashem to be king. And that's why Shofar is what it is. It's a simplistic voice which comes from the essence, like the cry of the heart. It's the essence of the person which reveals the essence of Elokus. Therefore, it's not just some blowing shofar. I mean, the essence of shofar is infinitely greater than just the blowing of the shofar. What is the enjoyment of a king? Now, the definition of a king, just by definition, means there are subjects who are foreigners, and these subjects are bottled to the king. Like we learned, you can't be a king over your own children because they're an extension of you. The definition of a king is that you accept him being a king, which means a melech b'layam. There has to be foreigners, meaning not the king. And at the same time, Chassidus says you can't be a king over animals because the definition of a king is as follows. It has to be foreigners, not yourself, or your children, because they're an extension of you. It has to be foreigners, but on the same level as you, i.e. human, that they are yesh, foreigners, nifrodim, and they become bottled to the king. That's the tainug of being a melech. What is the primary enjoyment of the king? She a yesh, that should be a yesh. V'sheyi a yesh bottle b'kabal, so malchus seberotzing. There should be a yesh that willingly accepts the king. That's the definition of malchus. By Masha said, okay, so now like this. So the whole inyan of Rosh Hashanah basically is accepting the king. The question, what happened at the beginning of creation? There was nobody yet to accept Hashem as king, because there was no Torah mitzvahs yet. He said, at the beginning of creation, at the beginning of creation, i.e. before Matan Torah, there was no Torah mitzvahs yet. There was no acceptance of the king yet. When did Hashem become king? When we accepted his Torah. We accepted him as his mitzvahs, which means we accepted him as king. So how did it work at the beginning of creation? So that's what I was saying. It worked, but there was a Seder Rachamim Rabbim from above, and it was Chesed Chinam, it was free. And therefore, this is how Chassidus explains. Before Baruch Shem on Shabbos, we have the 26 Kilo Elam Chazdes. Okay? And which correspond with Yud Kei Vav Kei. So the simple meaning of Kilo Elam Chazdei means La'elam, forever. Chazdei is Hashem's kindness. That's the simple meaning. Forever is his kindness. But the Medrash says, and Chassidus elaborates on it, Kilo Elam Chazdei means like this. Kilo Elam, this, that there's a world. Chazdei was the chesed of Hashem. And why are there 26 Kilo Elam Chazdeis? Because from Adam edition until Matan Torah were 26 generations. The 27th generation, Dor HaShvi, was Moshe Rabbeinu. But until Kabbalah Torah, there were 26 generations. So what does it mean, Kilo Elam Chazdi? It doesn't mean his kindness. Yeah, it means simply his kindness is forever. But in a deeper meaning is, Kilo Elam, this, that there's a world. There was no Torah mitzvahs yet. Chazdei came from Chavetz Chesed. But after Matan Torah, Hashem said, now you want me to be king? It's up to you. You have to awaken that kingdom. Which is the awakening from below. To awaken the will of Hashem. How? By us having bittul to Hashem, complete bittul, that's the way that awakening happened. What?
How can we as Hashem's children pronounce him king?
Because we're not only his children.
I know. I'm saying we're also his avodim, but as his children.
But we say Avinu Malkeinu.
So
the Binyan HaMalchus is the level of the Jew as Eved, not Ben.
So as Ben, as what?
In other words, let me translate it into different language. The neshama is banim atam Hashem Elokeichem. The body is avodim to the Melech. The neshama doesn't have to proclaim Hashem as king. It is Hashem. So what level of the Jew is awakening this level of Melech? It's the level of the Eved, the Malkeinu aspect. That's why it's HaMelech HaKadosh, HaMelech HaMishpat, HaMelech, 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 the whole thing's HaMelech. Yeah, what are we doing? We're proclaiming Hashem as king in the Eved, and not in the Ben part of ourselves, in the body and the Eved part of ourselves.
That's purely the body, or also the parts of each one that's in the body?
It works together, but primarily what is accepting Hashem as king? Again, the child doesn't accept his father as a king. He's an extension of the father. The Friediger Rebbe said to the Chassidim, I have an advantage over all of you that none of you have. He said, you guys are Chassidim, but not children. I'm a child and a Chassid.
But also Chassidim are children of the Rebbe also.
Yeah, but the Chassidim, but he was a biological child of the Rebbe. It's a whole different world. How does this awakening from below happen? It happens on Rosh Hashanah. She'em Yud Malchis. We say the 10th Sukkah of Malchis. Lebechins Binyan HaMalchis Mimakar Arishin, which is to create, to build up this level of Malchus from the original source, meaning La'am Shekesa Malchus, to reveal the crown of Malchus. Shaidei Za'ikar Binyana, that is Shaidei Za'ikar Binyana. That is the primary level of Binyan HaMalchus. Let's see where this brackets end. Okay, go to the next column, second line to the top. Kine, why is this awakened on Rosh Hashanah? Kine, Rosh Hashanah zayem tchilas masecha. Rosh Hashanah is the first day of creation. Zikar and liyem rishon al kein nikra Rosh Hashanah. Why is Rosh Hashanah called Rosh Hashanah? So it's a famous question which is always asked in Chassidus. Rosh Hashanah means the head of the head of the year. It should be called Tchilas Hashanah, beginning of the year. Same thing with Rosh Chodesh. Why do we call it Rosh Chodesh? It should be called Tchilas HaChodesh. So the answer is, why is it called Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh? Because just like the head is the nerve center of the entire body, the head includes within it the entire body. Rosh Hashanah includes all the days of the year, and Rosh Chodesh includes in it all the days of the month, which is Rosh Kilachai Derech Klolos HaKol Hashana. The koyach and this ability to awaken Hashem as king, who is given that ability? The Yidden. Only the Yidden were given the ability to do this. Nitan Yisrael liyosim mekablim malchusei b'chinas ratzim, that we should accept Hashem's kingdom willingly. Masha'en kim b'chinas shenikra Moshel. But he said there's a difference between Melech and Moshel. Malchusei b'ratzin kiblu aleim. Moshel is a dictatorship. Okay? Like it said, Malchusei b'kol Moshala, and b'chinas memshala bal korchach. L'chein, therefore like this. Even Bilam couldn't said, Li'uch alav Rabbi Hashem, I cannot go against the will of Hashem. I was a guy. He said, Ki ruach ha-meishel olav yala bal korchai. He had no bechira in that. When Bilam said, I can't go against the will, there's a thing, in one of the Basi Laganis, the Rabbi says a Yid can't go against the natural will of a Yid. Anyway, so the Rabbi asks, Bilam says in the pasuk, "Li'uch alav Rabbi Hashem." I cannot go against. If Hashem doesn't want me to curse, I can't curse. I cannot go against the will of Hashem. Even though the Gemara says in Sanhedrin that on the way there, Baal Sinai, he had sex with his donkey, which is one of the seven mitzvahs b'nei Noach. So all of a sudden he did that, and then he comes along and says, "I can't go against the will of Hashem." So Chassidus explains, the Rebbe explains this in Ahad and Basi Lagani in the back. The Rebbe explains what does it mean. In those mitzvahs that a guy is obligated in, he has free choice. In the seven mitzvahs b'nei Noach, he has free choice. Because if he would not have free choice, you can't have reward and punishment. If you're programmed to do evil, you can't be punished for doing evil. If you're programmed to do good, then you can be rewarded for doing good. So in seven mitzvahs b'nei Noach, a guy has free will. Therefore, Baal Sinai, in the seven mitzvahs b'nei Noach, he was able to sin. When it came to things which are not his mitzvahs, what did Bilam say? Look, it's not forbidden for a guy to curse a Jew. It's not biblically forbidden for a guy to curse a Jew. Okay? But what did Bilam say? I can't go against the will of Hashem. Why? Because that level, if it's not pertaining to the Shem Mitzvahs B'nei Noach, Hashem is not a king over them. He's a dictator over them. And if you're a dictator, a king that you willingly accept, you could rebel. But a dictator that you didn't willingly accept, then you can't rebel.
But that only works over someone who's so cognizant of Hashem, such as
Bilam was Yedei Das Elyon.
Right. So
Bilam had a greater nubuah than Moshe Rabbeinu.
So a regular guy couldn't cut someone cursing.
Yeah, they do it all day.
So just because it's not one of
And it's not against Seven Mitzvahs B'nei Noach. It's not against.
Because they don't see God like he did, right?
It doesn't matter if they see him or not. They're not mechuyev. They're not to curse a
So
Jew.
how come he wasn't able to?
Because Bilam felt that level of kedusha, and he realized he can't go against the will of Hashem.